Singing like that. All right. Hello and welcome to Just Animals Podcast. I'm Elle, and with me as always is my dad, aka Guy.
Hello, Pod World.
And
Good
today
to be
with us,
back.
And today with us, while Sam is finally done with school this month, we hope to have her back next month. We do have a very exciting special guest with us today. We have Paul Woyak, actually, a commercial diver, shark attack survivor, and author of the soon-to-be released book, Why Am I Alive? Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners. Give us a little bit of background, who you are, and let's go from there.
Hello, Just Animal podcast listeners and viewers. How you doing? Paul Woyak. I'm excited to be on the show and can't wait to talk to you about different kinds of things that have transpired over time with all the different marine animals, especially.
Absolutely. So give us a little. How did someone get into commercial diving? First of all, that's kind of my question. Is how someone, especially someone from Wisconsin originally.
Yes. Okay. So as it's really close. The land of lakes. I was in the water and underwater most of the time. And as we grew up, we got a pool, and then my dad's place of employment transferred him out to California. And once I saw the ocean, that was it. It was pretty much over for me. I was in it as much as I could be, and
that's awesome.
that never has stopped.
What part of California are you in? California right now, Paul?
I am, Guy. I am. I'm in Lompoc, California. It's really close to Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Isn't there a prison there, Paul?
Yeah,
there is. Wait. Oh no.
Are you in the prison now?
Sorry, right. Those are some bars shutting in the background. Yeah, no. There is a penitentiary, but believe me, it's secure. We're fine. And it's right. It's really close to Vandenberg Air Force Base, and then Santa Barbara and Goleta, where I grew up, is about 45 minutes south.
Okay. All right. So why am I alive? That's a fantastic title. I think a lot of people ask themselves that, but you seem to have quite the story to go with that. So whatever you can reveal, let's just get into it. Actually, why am I alive? What prompted you to write the book? What is the book about? And
what was the input? What was the impetus for the book?
Right. And when and where can we buy it?
We got to take us. We're missing a whole big chunk here.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, with these stories that are in the book, 3 major stories, what had transpired was they just turned out to be so miraculous that I was alive after this career. I semi-suppressed it for quite a while, thinking that it's better to stay clear of pondering it, so I can stay in the ocean, especially the shark story. So over time and staying in the ocean through most of my life, it turned out that I kept on coming back to the possibility of taking all these notes that I compiled over all the years and put them together so that I could not only chronicle the events, but also maybe provide something to my kids as I was, getting older and didn't want this to just go away. I wanted it to be preserved, and then it really took off.
So you had a diver diary, essentially.
Basically, yeah. When things were going to this extreme point where I couldn't figure out how did that really take place, I started journaling, and then what triggered it, something I could bring up was I don't know if you have information about the shark attacks that took place out at Surf Beach, California here, right by Lompoc, 10 minutes west. And when that transpired, I was right there. So I decided I need to do this.
Okay, so hang on one second because I got to go back and fill in some gaps here. Okay. You said you're a commercial diver. Now, does that mean you inspect boat bottoms? Does that mean you do welding underwater? Does that mean what are you doing as a commercial diver, or are you just taking people out to teach them how to dive?
As a commercial diver, what I was going to do was weld and work on oil platforms originally, with the ability to do underwater construction. I had a career-ending injury to that career, to my ear. I had surfer's ear, so they had to operate. And when they did that, I was no longer insurable underwater.
Ooh.
Oh,
So then I went trying to figure out what am I going to do with this education. And down in Santa Barbara Harbor, there's a lot of commercial fishing operations. I was told to go down there and look for a job on a boat, and I landed one. So there I was, turning into a commercial diving fisherman.
Oh, wow.
a commercial diving fisherman.
Yeah, that sounds
Like
like a
yes,
great way to meet a shark.
spearfishing kind of a fishing?
Well, we were sea urchin divers. I'm sorry, I never filled you in
Oh,
on that, did I? Yeah, we
no,
were.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, I was a sea urchin harvester.
Yeah.
the
Um,
ones that like eat the kelp and mess up the kelp for us? Were you going after those?
yes,
Ah, okay.
yes, and very much a delicacy, also known as uni in Japan. And we sold most all of our uni to the Japanese at that point.
No
And
kidding.
now it's
D-
pretty popular here now.
did you also dive for what is that
Abalone.
like abalone? Yes. Do they
I
have abalone
was
down there? Or is not too, water's too warm?
I did what's known as a topside boat tender for abalone, and was in the process of getting my license, but that didn't transpire. That's a long story that probably wouldn't entertain everybody. So
Okay. Well, yeah.
yeah,
So all right. So now you're a commercial diving fisherman. Not well. You were doing the underwater thing, but I'm not sure what surfing gear is. But we'll get to. I'll look that up. Uh, is that like cauliflower ear? You know, when you're a fighter or something like that, you get the. I'm teasing you.
What happens is there's a
Probably like
lot of
swimmer's ear.
exposure. What's that?
Like swimmer's ear, right?
Swimmer's ear
Yeah.
extraordinaire. It just keeps growing
Right.
when the bones start growing
Ugh.
together, and they have to actually drill out the bony growth.
Oh, yummy.
Wow, that sounds terribly painful. Okay, all right. So you're doing the commercial diving for uni and so on and so forth. Is this when you had your moment with a shark?
Yes, that's when the attack encounter took place.
And what kind of shark was it?
It was a great white shark.
Great white shark. And if you had to estimate how long that thing was, how long was it?
I have over the years tried to put a number on it, and when I finally wrote out the notes, someone who was helping me with the writing said, "You need to name it," and I named it 20 foot.
Wow,
Oh,
that's a
okay.
big ass shark, man. And
Yes,
and were you the object of the shark's affection, or was it somebody else? No, obviously
it
you,
was.
because you said, yeah, go
Yes, it
ahead.
was I. And
Uh huh.
what transpired was there was a we would go searching for sea urchins, and there was a search that was taking place.
Tell us about the day. Tell us about leading up to the event. Tell us, like,
Yeah.
was it a normal day? Did the day seem kind of weird? Because, sometimes you hear those shark attack stories and they're like, I wasn't sure if I was going to go out or not that day, but I went out anyways.
How deep was the water? Let's start there.
What is wrong with
It
that?
was
Yeah,
40 feet deep.
yeah,
That's not that deep
It was
for a
that's not
40
commercial
that
feet
shark.
deep.
deep,
Hmm.
and the day was pretty gloomy, fog cover, and then the island itself, San Miguel, where we went to a place that's appropriately named Shark Park, was completely overcast.
Oh,
So
good.
Okay.
That's great.
yeah, it was
Ideal
definitely
conditions.
a perfect setting for what transpired.
Okay, yeah. And was this morning, dusk? or midday?
It was mid-morning.
Okay.
Mid-morning by the time we traveled out there from the Santa Barbara Harbor.
Okay. Okay. So did it just seem like a normal day looking for sea urchins, and then all of a sudden it was not a normal day?
Yes. Yeah, that's very much how it went. It changed my life.
I'm sure it did.
And
yeah. So tell us what you were. So yeah. So let's, as much as you can reveal without giving too much of the book away, if you could tell us, were you doing your normal sea urchin harvesting stuff, and then was just like, oh, that's a big shadow, or like, did you at all ever sense something, or was it by the time you realized what was happening, it was already happening?
that's how it went. By the time it was happening, it was already happening. And
Oh my gosh, so you had no idea.
had no idea, and there's a whole lot of shock value to the whole situation. And yeah, I don't want to give away too much of that.
Right. No, yeah.
But I do have a second best shark story that I have prepared. If you would like to hear that one,
Yes, we will
from
definitely hear that
someone
one.
somewhat famous in the industry. I have you ever heard of the Kirby Morgan dive mask?
No.
Anyway, it's
I'm
the
sure
one
we
that's in use as of today. It was invented by a gentleman named Bob Kirby. And are you ready for this one? This is this is a pretty intense story.
Yes,
that be
yes,
okay?
yes. Absolutely,
Okay,
tell us. We love it.
All right, so Bob Kirby is one of the pioneers of diving, and he's using a what called a hard hat, the one with the 4 ports
Yeah.
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 and the big metal plate that
The old
on
school
your
diving
shoulders.
suits.
Right.
Yes. So he's down there and he's got communications, and he's developing communications. One of the first people to ever do it. So it's along, with his dive hose to the system, and he's going ahead and back then there's so many abalone that you wouldn't pick one abalone at a time. You would actually pick a whole group of them, like a 5-foot circle that was piled up on each other, and you would get a whole big slab of abalone, and then the boat would bring the net over, and you'd put all the abalone onto this net. So he was busy doing that with his communications working fine, and the topside tenders up there said, "Hey Bob, there's a fish up here. There's a big fish up here." And he's going, and he was, not scared of anything and ready to take on anything at that point in his life, as he would tell me. And he said, he goes, "Fish? What fish? Let me see this fish. I don't see any fish."
Oh boy.
So anyway, they say, "It's coming down, Bob. It's coming down." And they sound very excited. And as it descends, they're only in 25 feet of water. As it descends, he's looking around through the front and the side ports, and he looks to his left-hand side, and the shark starts swimming by. And he said it was like a conveyor belt of shark. Shark, 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 and just kept reeling off. And he just he said his machismo voice went to Whimper City, and
Right,
just
like, no, please don't hurt me.
yeah, I'm coming up. And there was
Right.
this huge visibility in this very large, and in talking to Bob in the past, I feel our sharks are pretty close in size, but I'm not sure about his. I talked to him over the years, but anyway, it was very large, and it starts doing this U-turn about 60, 70 feet away, and it comes up right within 3 to 3.5 feet of him and stops, and he can't even see anything but shark mouth.
Wow.
His giant teeth, and he said with seal skin stuffed up into the shark's teeth like stuffed dental floss, and he's just sitting there shaking like a leaf. And
maybe he wanted a dentist appointment. Maybe he's like, "Hey, I've got something in my teeth. Can you help me out here, please?"
There you go. We need a teeth cleaning. Anyway, he was shaking in his diving boots, I'll say, and then the shark just takes off to the side, and he starts screaming, "I'm coming up! I'm coming up!" Well, back then, that heavy gear was so heavy that you had to pound in pitons with ropes onto the ocean bottom so you wouldn't fall over. And if you did, you had a way to pull yourself back up. And Bob undid one of them, and he started doing the second one. And at that point, he said he gets this big eerie feeling, and he starts looking around in the side ports and the front port, doesn't see anything. And then he turns himself all the way around to look behind himself, and there's the shark, same distance away, right behind him, staring at him. And
pass. So hard pass on that.
Then,
so Paul.
Oh yes, guys.
Do you have all your limbs? Is that my question?
Yes, every limb. Right? You haven't seen me describe enough yet. Definitely. No, just kidding. Yeah. we have them, and the shark swam by him again, came back around, and he started. He couldn't undo his last line, so he cut it with his dive. He turned off his exhaust and turned on the intake, blew up like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and cut the rope that was holding him onto the bottom. Came shooting up, and they pulled him on deck. And
oh my God!
He never dove again.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if I blame him for that. So, where can we get your book? Because I know we don't want you to reveal too much, because obviously that's the whole point, is to buy the book. Where can we get the book? When is it out? And then we want to hear some other animal stories from you.
Okay. It's coming out. We are doing our best to get it done by early June. Okay. So people can take it on vacation when they go visit the beach.
Right. When they go to, Massachusetts and Martha's Vineyard, go hang out with Jaws. Just kidding. Right.
Yeah. So we're doing our best. It'll be on Amazon, and I will have a link. I'm hoping that you might be able to.
Yes, we would love to post the link for where people can get it directly.
Terrific, El. Thank you.
Yes, or can we do pre-orders? Because I am a good pre-order.
Yeah, we're setting up pre-orders right now.
Perfect. So. Okay, great. Yes. So send me the pre-order link, and I will put it in this episode description. But I'm very excited to read the book. So tell us some animal stories you can reveal that maybe aren't in your book. some epilogue or prologue stuff.
Paul, did you ever say?
All right. Well.
Did you ever say we're going to need a bigger boat?
Oh my God! Really?
We after the encounter, believe me, I wanted a bigger boat because it felt like I was sleeping on a boat, a
mattress.
Yes, a 30-foot by 10-foot boat. It felt like the thing was wide, over half the width of the boat, and then closing in on 2/3 of it, if not 2/3 of it. So when I was sleeping that night, it was every little rock of the boat felt like
it's here, it's back.
It's hungry, it's waiting, and all I need to do is have a bad nightmare, and I'll roll right into its ocean bottom platter.
Wow!
So I saw a picture of Otto.
Oh.
Yes, the dog. He's actually right here. Come here. Hey.
I had a dog named Seabiscuit, exactly like it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, and it was half German Shepherd, half Basenji.
Oh, no kidding.
And someone said it was quite a bit like what was that Australian dog you referred to?
Oh, cattle dog.
Yeah, cattle dog, but it's what's that called? That dog, a dingo.
Oh yeah. Well, cattle dogs are like bred from dingoes, so yeah, they're kind of feral-ish.
Yeah,
okay, he's mostly cattle dog.
Seabiscuit nickname was Wild Kingdom. Just ran around hunting all day long. Yeah, she was
good for him.
Outside all the time.
Good for her. So give us some other juicy animal stories, because we love to hear this kind of stuff.
Do you know what a Steller sea lion is?
Yes, I have a friend who actually worked with them up in Alaska for a while. Okay,
great. Yeah, Stellers we would refer to them as the junkyard dog of the ocean, and they would they would come and they sent a few guys home on oh geez, what's that called? The Coast Guard helicopters
Ooh.
with lots of stitches, big
Oh,
big
boy.
wounds. Yeah, they don't mess around. And
yeah, they look like sea dogs, but they are not at all friendly like a sea dog.
not at all. Yeah, junkyard dogs.
Right. Yeah.
So there is this time we were working in this area that stellars would frequent that area here and there. We wouldn't see them very often, or we wouldn't dive.
Right.
So as I'm bringing up some harvested sea urchins, I'm gonna go look for another spot with the scooter. You've seen those little propellers with a battery
Right.
operated. So I'm submerging with the scooter, and I'm heading down to go confirm an area before I brought all my gear to set up. And as I'm heading down at about a 45-degree angle in about 45 feet of water, at the same angle coming up is a huge stellar sea lion. And
Best of luck to you.
yeah, and he's somewhere about I don't know, about 50 feet away, and he sees me and I see him at the same time, and he turns directly at me, and he's closing fast, and so I, with the scooter, turned right at him, and we smash. As he goes to bite the scooter, he got popped by this hard shell plastic scooter and got really mad and bit down on the top of the scooter as a handle, and he got it in his mouth. And he's yanking.
It's his now.
Excuse me?
Oh, it's his scooter now. Like that's his now. That belongs to him.
He's decided, well, whatever this thing is has a hard nose. I'm going to tear it apart, is how it felt, because I could barely hold on to the scooter as he was yanking and pulling and yanking and pulling. I thought for sure he'd get it away, but he didn't. He tired. He ran out of gas. And then when he stopped, he just stopped. He was holding onto it like, what is this thing? And I decided to fight back, so I gave it a little throttle and popped him a couple times in the face with the throttle. And then the scooter popped him a little bit, and then he goes, oh, forget it. And he lets go. He didn't understand this animal.
Right, like this isn't fun anymore. Right, you're like, what? Like this isn't fun. This isn't tasty. It's hitting me in the nose. I don't like this anymore.
So I have to ask you a different question. When you're down there getting sea urchins, I know that crab people put their own pots and get crabs, but are you just harvesting sea urchins in the general wild, or is it like you have you're paying for a plot of underwater? You have a license for this area of real estate. How does it work?
Well, there's areas that are protected where you can't go and into the sanctuary areas at the Channel Islands.
Okay.
But there's also areas that are open that they've studied and deemed safe to go ahead and harvest sea urchins in those areas, Guy. And what the good operations do, like I was part of, we would harvest the sea urchins that were in the best areas, and then we would not get all of them, because the ones that were close but weren't in the what we call the feed line, where the urchins were eating the best food for them and the most. Those urchins were heavy and healthy and very good to eat and harvest. But the other ones that were off the reef a little bit, that were like in line at the food line, but they couldn't squeeze in, we didn't pick those. So then those would crawl, when we harvested, those would crawl up onto the good area and eat well and regenerate. And we'd come back 8-10 years later sometimes, and there it is. The underwater farm is going.
So were you licensed by Fish and Game to harvest sea urchins?
Yeah, they're invasive species, right? They're invasive, right?
Oh, it's an invasive species?
Yeah, they're rooting the kelp forest because they eat the kelp at the root and then just floats up, and then that whole kelp forest is gone.
Oh. And when you harvest them, what do? You cut them off the rock? Is that cut them off a reef? What do you do?
Yeah, there's an item called a sea urchin rake that actually would go up onto your forearm and attach just below your elbow, and there's a handle it was like 1/4 inch stainless steel stock, and then about 1.5 to 2 feet beyond your hand was an area where the stock came together, and you welded it up, and it created an ocean bottom claw, is how I describe it.
It's like Freddy Krueger.
Little bit. Yeah. But yeah, we would pop them off with this rake into a basket about the size of a plastic trash can. And
wow.
Yeah, that was the old days. They're definitely smaller operations now.
Right.
But back then, we would then bring this basket over to a hula hoop that was floating about 5 feet off the bottom, and we would dump our trash can into our big catch bag, and we'd fill that up and then float it up to the surface and load them on the boat.
I'm looking at a photo here. It looks like they have a vacuum process as well. It looked like a big old PVC pipe. And have you ever used that to?
I did not. That came about later on.
After your time.
After my time, the price of sea urchin roe went up enough to warrant that the expense.
Extra materials and gear.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a write-off, right? If it's business.
Yeah, not everybody uses them, but
right.
But yeah, in fact, I wanted to make sure I was ready for this, so I talked to my buddy who was in the industry at this time and talked to him about the latest, greatest things that are going on in the industry, and they're diving deeper. He's not using one of those devices.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever gotten any quills stuck in you?
Oh yeah, plenty. Yeah, I felt like a pincushion from time to time.
So unlike Spider-Man, you don't have any sea urchin DNA in you. You don't shoot out quills, do you?
Yeah. Well, a couple times when they got infected, they would actually fly out of.
Oh no!
My son in Hawaii stepped on a sea urchin, and there's a folklore about peeing on it. You know, that's one thing. I don't know if you've ever heard about that,
Sure.
but we took him to the doctor, and they're like barbed things, so they're like an arrow,
Yes.
from what I understand, and they don't come out so easily.
No.
But he had to. Yeah, even months later, we were soaking his feet and in his toes, and I think we soaked it in like hot Epsom salt or something. And they kind of came to the surface, but it was traumatizing for the poor kid. I mean, it hurt him.
He ruined our trip, though. I was upset. Then our trip was ruined because he had to go step on a sea urchin, and then he can't get his foot wet.
What about those slate-looking ones, Paul? Did you harvest those as well, or only the spiny-looking ones?
Only the spiny-looking ones, and
okay.
The ones that had that shorter, stubby spines.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who are eating the best. They don't need to grow the long spikes. The long spikes are basically like longer fishing lines to eat.
Okay, gotcha.
And what are they eating? Are they eating like krill? Not krill, like phytoplankton? What do they eat?
Yeah, they eat kelp, rock moss, algae, different things that grow on the rock. Some, I'm not positive of all the different. If I was underwater, I'd have a lot better explanation. Yeah. But yes, usually something that's a growth on the rock and/or the kelp, and that the spines catch the kelp and then slowly move it to where they can get it underneath and eat.
Are they still considered an invasive species?
In some areas, some not so. It depends on the ones that are the biggest invasive species are the smaller little purple ones, the light purple. They're
Yeah.
They go and not only eat all the kelp, they also kill the other larger sea urchins who don't feed exclusively on kelp. They feed on
they have a
the
wider
algae.
diet.
Yes.
Okay.
Eek. Yeah, he stepped on a purple one.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a light purple or a dark purple?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't remember. I think it was a light
when the quills
purple.
came out, they were definitely purple.
Yeah, but it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gross.
It was probably a light purple one. But anyway, yeah, we would load up and then take these giant loads of urchins that were very dangerous sometimes across the channel and find ourselves in all kinds of peril. But we would land it, and I thought we would had competition for being on that Deadliest Catch show.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Style.
I was just about to say, was there like an urchin catch show? Like, where was Discovery Channel for this?
There's quite a few stories in the book about gentlemen who lost their lives. Yeah, doing sea urchins.
So, how far did you go out of Santa Barbara Harbor, or where did you go out of?
Yes, yeah, I went out of Santa Barbara.
So, Santa Barbara to San Miguel? How far is that one way?
Ooh, 28, 30 miles. Depends on where you go on San Miguel. We had a slower boat, so let's see, it was 8 miles an hour on our
8 miles an hour. So that's 3 hours to get out there?
Yeah, it was taking 4.
No thanks.
And okay, so in what seas would you say, no, we're not going out today? In other words, how high would the waves have to be to say, or the wind? I mean, I had a sailboat, so I understand knots of wind. Like 20 knots of wind, you're moving along at a nice clip. That's when you're in a sailboat. But if you're in a little boat like you're describing,
no thanks.
20 knots is going to be not fun.
Right. Yeah, it was tough. We wouldn't go. We always left in the morning. So the winds were blowing at the most probably 12 to 15 knots. And then, but on the way home, we had to come home. So we came home. So yes. And it was a little bit, if you look at a map of Point Conception and how the wind blows, it was side shore into it a little bit, going out to Miguel. But on the way home, it was side shore behind us just a little bit. So we could handle more wind coming home.
Yeah. Does San Miguel have any mooring sites or anything, or is that you can't moor over there?
Yeah, no mooring sites that I believe are legal. And and then so there's a few anchorages, but most of them were pretty little, pretty small. It was a small island. And we would also dive over on Santa Rosa on the front side mostly. There's a place there called Telcott that is predominantly represented in the book in the last story. And it is what do I like to say? The catcher's mitt of every little thing that comes down the way from Point Conception. It's heading right for Telcott.
How thick was your wetsuit?
It was about, let's see, I used a couple, but the one that I used the most was a one-piece 5/16 inch.
5/16. It's a little more than a quarter.
No, I'm sorry. 9/16.
Oh, that's about a little more than a half.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, but warm. Your face, you had a mask, right? You had the neck thing. How much of your skin was exposed?
Not much. Not much.
I would not want a lot. Yeah, no, I would not want a lot.
We're underwater 8 hours a day, so it was, sometimes more. So your hands had worked the hardest, and they had these really rough rubber gloves that weren't neoprene, so you could really use your hands. But everything else was covered with neoprene.
All right, let me just ask the basic. Were you cold?
we got so cold that we were changing. We were changing colors at the end of the day sometimes.
Okay, so if you're telling me you're underwater for 8 hours, I can understand going number one, but number two is a mess.
Yes,
Oh my God.
we would definitely, let's say, work the coffee pot correctly in the morning to make sure we had our business taken care of.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I would imagine. So you have 3 separate stories in the book, and are all 3 of them some sort of like animal attack, or just
No, no.
okay?
The, they all have animals in them, within them,
Right,
but
right.
but the first story obviously is the great white story, and then the stellar sea lion is in there,
Uh huh.
and we also had a day where some blue sharks followed me all day long.
Oh,
That
that's
was a
fun.
Yeah, that was a weird night because I was playing cribbage with the skipper and he wouldn't talk. And
Oh,
I was like, "What's wrong with you, man?" And he goes,
yeah.
"You had 2 big blue sharks follow you all day."
Huh.
And they were hovering up above me, so I never knew. I was like, well, "You didn't tell me?" And so no, I didn't want to throw you off. I wanted to make sure you kept raking sea urchins.
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
Thanks,
that's
buddy.
nice. Yes.
Thanks. You're really looking
Thanks,
out, bud.
Captain. Thanks, Captain.
Thank you, Gilligan. That's really helpful.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that wasn't too cool. But the dolphin situation, back and forth, and while we were there, just off the hook. It was amazing. All the
So, being
different.
a shark attack survivor, and I know I asked you this when you spoke on the phone, but has it at all changed your perception of sharks? I have to ask this for the show. Are you now like, we must kill all sharks, sharks need to be exterminated, or has it just increased your respect for the ocean and for the species, and like, maybe we don't need to be out in their home as much as we are?
I would say that I have a total respect for them. I always have. I studied them. I
Right.
was fascinated, and I know without them, the balance would be
Oh, yeah, our oceans would be
completely
screwed.
right. So believe me, I have a very high respect and appreciation of what they do and how they serve us to have this amazing body of water that provides us with so many things. Um, I would think I would think shark netting, with all the different ways that we're expanding and doing things, not only on land but in space. Why can't we do a little bit more on something that won't hurt any of the other marine life, but something
Mhm.
that would slow them down or ring a bell if they came through, something that would do some protection for
Right,
the more popular water spots.
right, right.
I would think that that is totally feasible, and I would like to see that
Quite
personally.
honestly, I'm now getting a visual of sharks wearing like, cat collars, with the bells on them. It's like, oh, the shark's coming, get out of the water really quick, like he's home. But I mean, that's a fantastic visual I have, just sharks in collars with bells on them. That should be I
Yeah.
hope that's the cover of your book. That should be the cover of your book.
So
You're welcome.
I have a theoretical question for you. Maybe it's not a theoretical question. If you punch a shark in the nose, would that piss him off or send him away?
It's it's said that it helps, and they have that ampullary Lorenzini sensory system, and I
Yeah.
believe that thing is pretty doggone sensitive. So if it was me and I had a choice, it would be an uppercut to that area where
Yeah.
its sensories are.
What
To
about the eye?
I don't know. That might piss him off.
I would
You
want
can
to. And
reach it.
they actually have a fibrous uh, like it's not even like an eyelid; it's an enclosure that
Yeah, they close their eyes or
yeah,
close their eyes.
yeah, it's
Right?
a protective lid that as they're biting, it's just automatic. So getting at their eyes for like like an elephant seal or something like that makes total sense as they're trying to survive an attack. But for me to try to do something with them, unless maybe it was an urchin rake, yes, it would probably be a waste. I have another story. My friend, his name's Mike Farmer. He's talking about writing a book. He gave me a pretty amazing story, but it's a little not so
Graphic?
great for the
Go for it.
The victim's an elephant seal.
Oh. Well, so is nature. Nature's not always pretty, unfortunately.
Yeah, just animals.
Yeah, they're animals being animals.
Yes. So what happened was they got all set up to work sea urchins in the same area, and that my first story takes place. They by hand set the anchor so that it would be really secure.
Wow.
And then as they got back to the boat and were changing into their harvesting gear, a pretty large elephant seal was swimming by right above their anchor, and a large white shark right before their eyes attacked the elephant seal.
Wow.
Right where they just were.
Oh my God.
And they watched this take place with the birds and the whole thing.
The whole nine.
Yep. And then he had to get back in the water to get his anchor undone.
We're going to just leave that there. That belongs to the ocean now.
Yeah, I may have cut the anchor line, but it was just chain. It was just chain right there. That's right. He was thinking about it, but it's just chain right there. In their setup possibly is what transpired.
It's going to be a cut our losses and move on situation
so
for me.
I'm looking at a map of the great white sharks areas, and they're like all the way to Alaska, all the way to almost the tip of South America. There's a little small spot like in Central America where they don't hang out, but
it's too warm for them.
But think about how warm it is down here. This is Baja, Mexico.
Yeah, but they're not on the equator.
Not on the equator, pretty much, but all the way to Alaska, but then back again in South America from the north of South America all the way almost down to the tip. So they have a huge range. I mean, I thought they were mostly cold water, but they're not just cold water.
No, they're not. Now, they do follow cold water currents, though, as much as from my studies in the past.
Yeah.
Like down at Baja, I was so surprised some years because I went surfing there quite a bit. We'd go down and it's so nice and warm. We'll just trunk it in June, we're thinking, because the further south will be fine. We hit some ice cold patches of water down there. So there's some longshore currents that change things up as far as temperature goes. That's what makes them very unpredictable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because if you get a cold spell one day, or a cold current comes in, the sharks are probably coming in with them.
So, Paul, what is their typical hunting depth? I know they can come pretty shallow, right?
Obviously. You were 40 feet. That's not that much.
Yeah, but what is their? Do you know about their typical depth of where they like to operate, or their most efficient operation?
I would guess. I'm not positive of this, but from my experience, and it was very well renowned in the diving industry, would be about 60 to 70 feet. Mm-hmm. What that allows them to do is come up from the depths and attack their prey stealth from below.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's easier. You're
I'm sorry,
less detection. They're less detectable coming on the bottom instead of coming right at you, right? Coming up on you.
Yeah, they would definitely come up from and ambush attack from below. Yeah. And if you get deeper than that, now there's not a lot of prey out there. They don't want to venture out there. They know this. And the reefs and the active food for them are closer. So I'd say their favorite would be probably in that range, 60 to 80 feet.
If you think about it, we had an orca expert come on. and orcas prey on them. So, and orcas go out in deep water, so it would make sense too that they would not want to be out there where the orcas are.
The orcas will go after a great white?
Yes, they're on the menu. Everything is on the menu for an orca. You don't remember that?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I suspect, though, even though that you were attacked by a shark, you still have an appreciation for these animals and their necessity in the overall ecosystem.
Where were you
right?
when he
I
said
know.
that?
I know. I just wanted to reiterate that in a different manner, that they are critical to the whole biosphere. In terms of maintaining the balance in the ocean, right?
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
if we didn't have them, then everywhere would probably end up being overrun by all the different pinnaheads and
Yeah.
all the different elephant seals, stellar sea lions. All of that would, and then the fish would start suffering. So yeah,
Right.
without the white shark and his healthy appetite, we would be probably overrun, and the oceans would go backwards. So I definitely feel good about the shark as far as part of the system.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly excited to go see a bunch of them, but
yeah, it's on the top of your to-do list.
That
go
you
hang
should
out
be
with
on
them.
the menu. But it's just like I tell this story frequently. When they tried to get rid of the wolves, the elk population got so bad, and then the elks were destroying the trees, and that creates a whole other. Anytime you screw with the balance of nature, or man screws with the balance of nature,
you overcorrect and then have to
and then
undercorrect.
there's a problem. It upsets the natural balance, unintended consequences. So anyway.
But yeah, send us out here with one more Polster. We're gonna have to have you when the book comes out. We're gonna have you back on so you can actually talk about the story. We'll need to have the toast. We'll have you back on. Let's say September or so. People will love to have time to read it, and then we can actually go in further. And I'll have my highlighted copy with questions for you.
That'd be fantastic. I'd be excited.
All right.
Perfect. But yeah, send us off with one more story.
A quickie.
Okay. Let's see. On the way out to go diving, many times large groups of dolphins would see our vessel and go, "Oh yeah," and they'd crank a turn and head over like a bunch of kids running for a schoolyard swing. And they'd all fight for the front of the boat, and they'd just be doing all these maneuvers with our plowing bow that pushed a wave that really entertained them.
Well,
so it was like a dolphin show.
I'm going to share one phenomenon with you. When I was sailing on the West Coast, in the evening, there are these creatures that bioluminesce in the water. And then the dolphins go through there, so you see the shadow of the dolphin in the bioluminescence, where they disrupt those organisms. And it's it was like trippy for me to see that. I'm sure maybe on the way home one evening, you probably experienced that yourself. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about? I don't know what those creatures are that bioluminesce, but then when the dolphin comes in there, they like create a shadow. But did you ever have a pleasant encounter with a dolphin?
Oh yeah, sure did. And yes, I have experienced the luminescence. I'm not sure if they're krill, but
it's something that it glows green. It's kind of like a greenish glow.
Blue. Yeah, well, the ones in 2020 off of Long Beach, I don't know. You were probably around. I don't know if it went up that far north, but they were more of a blue color.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 2020 when they showed up.
Well, we'll have to have Paul back when his book comes out. So
really quick before we wrap up here, where can we get your book, and when can we get it?
It will be available, I'm hoping, within the month, and I would like to say my assistant Alex is close enough. Hey, so where's our? Do we have I have a website, and/or the Why Am I Alive website will be up and running. Do we have an address at this point?
We can post it to. We could try to put it into the link of the description.
Yeah, we could put it into the link of the description.
Perfect. Yes. Perfect.
Podcast episode. So we'll send it to you, I believe, and then we'll get it on there.
Absolutely perfect. Okay, we're looking forward to reading it. We're looking forward to catching up with you in a few months to discuss it. Thank you so much for coming on, and we are very excited for Why Am I Alive? And if you have any questions for Paul, please send us a email, write us on Instagram, and we'll get those questions for you and have them answered for you by September, let's say. We'll have you back on to discuss. What are you doing?
I was putting on some music for Paul.
Paul doesn't want music.
Hold on.
How do you know he wants music?
Go ahead.
All right. Anyways, justanimalspod@gmail.com or find us on Instagram, justanimalspod. My dad's doing his normal stuff. And Paul, thank you so much for your time and your stories. We're very excited for you and excited to be a part of your promo press tour. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Thanks, Al.
Yes. Why are you playing that? We don't have rights to that.
It's a fair use.
You say that and it's not. Remember, Dr. Lowe doesn't like that song. We talked about
What
this.
is that?
It's the Jaws theme song.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay. Enough.
All right, Paul. Thank you
so much for your time, Paul. We look forward to having you back and reading Why Am I Alive? Have a great evening.
Bye, Paul.
You too.
Thanks.
Have a good one now.
Righto.